Welcome back to A Spiritual Joint, where cosmic whispers weave through the tapestry of soul and the sacred pen of Seshat inscribes our journey toward wholeness. Here we gather at the crossroads of mystery and light to explore the hidden realms, unlock timeless wisdom, and ignite the fire of transformation within. Together we honor the sacred dance of shadow and radiance, embracing the eternal flow of spirits unfolding. Breathe deeply. Open your heart and step into this circle where soul speaks truth and every voice is a thread in the infinite web of life. Welcome back. Hope everyone's doing well in your world and you are at peace. Today I want to talk about New Year's resolutions and a little bit about how that relates to time and cycles. So, as many of you know, especially those in the northern hemisphere, we have this thing that comes about on or about January 1st or before then. We go into this thing where we create these New Year's resolutions. These are things that we resolve to do, things that we say that we are going to do for this new year. And unfortunately, for the vast majority of people, when we make these resolutions, they maybe last about 6 weeks and then they fall off and we don't follow through with what it is that we said we were going to do, what it is that we stated we were going to do, what it is that we planned to do for this year, for whatever aspect of ourselves we wanted to make change or commit to change. And just wanted to pose a reason as to perhaps why these resolutions aren't working. And it could be that, often, as is dictated by social constructs, that the time is linear, that you're in this line, we go from January 1st to December 31st, and it's this straight line forward, blinders on, we see that, and then January 31st, as it switches over through that veil of time between the 31st at 11:59 for some of you, or 23:59 for others of us, and it switches into 0000, or the midnight hour, the witching hour, that we start over a new line, a new 365 and a quarter days. So they tell us of a new slate, a new lease on what it is that we call life. But it's more relative, more connected to the fact that this is a cycle, it's a spiral where we continually are rising up from where we started from, especially when we are staying in line with cycles and seasons that are actually in existence, as opposed to a random number on the calendar. Because truthfully, January 1st means what? January 1st is supposed to be the beginning of the new year, but if you are looking at the seasons, January 1st is actually in the middle, not even the middle, it's week. Is it a week? It's about 7 to 8 days, depending on where you're counting from. It's 7 to 8 days after what many people celebrate as Christmas. It is The winter solstice is the 21st, 22nd of December, the actual 10th month of the year, which starts winter. So approximately 9 days, I'm sorry, not 7 or 8, it's 9 days after that, we are going into this 31st day of December, where we call this New Year's Eve, and at the stroke of midnight we change into the new year and start off on our next linear adventure. But I would venture to say, some people would venture to say that 9 days after the start of winter, how could we possibly be entering into a new year when we are only 9 days into winter? The actual new year begins in March at the equinox, when life is actually coming forth, because that's what the new year is all about, the coming forth of new life, the new beginnings, the new season that actually begins the new year. And this is based on an actual astrological celestial event, something that is measurable, something that is actually taking place, as opposed to January 1st, which historically is related to a date that signifies the changing of the guard of the entity god that is called Janus, which is where we get the name January from. Janus is the two-faced god who is looking back and is looking forward at the same time. And it's also, this new year was started because of some politics that were going on, where they wanted to change certain things on the calendar. So when some of the political figures were out of the city, they decided to take a vote, and because these other figures were not in the city, they were able to make sure that the vote passed, and that's how January came into being and changed the actual beginning of the year from the equinox back to January, to respect or pay homage to the gods that they wanted to worship. So getting back to how that relates to New Year's resolution, with the changing of the times and cycles and seasons of actuality, having these resolutions, setting forth these resolutions on January 1st, this arbitrary date, could lean into why these resolutions don't stick for most people, why they don't work, because we're not actually in cycle with the actual energies of the planet, the energies of the universe. So we're making these resolutions, we're resolving to do these things, but the time at which we are doing this, the times that we are making this commitment, is not at the actual new year. And when you're in cycle with the universe, when you're in cycle with the planet, things tend to flow in a manner that is with greater ease. So you have these resolutions, you put these resolutions forth, and if you're paying attention, you might feel this little twinge, this little ick as to it won't feel totally right, as if, or if you were to do it in alignment with the actual seasons, if you were in alignment with the new year, it would probably flow easier because we are in alignment. And then what happens is, or what can happen to some people is, because our body is, or attempts to be in alignment, and when we make these promises, these commitments, we make these contracts with ourselves, and it lasts for 6 weeks, and then it falls through. This leads to an erosion of trust in ourselves, because we made these promises, we made these commitments, we stated this resolution, but 6 weeks later, it's not coming to pass because, when we're out of sync, it becomes difficult or challenging to maintain the things that we say we want to do, even though we said them, even though we wanted to do them. The energy, the frequency, it can be off in such a way that it would not allow us to continue on in this vein because it's out of place. So when we continue to make these resolutions and continue to make these contracts with ourselves, we are continually eroding the trust in ourselves. This drops our confidence, this drops our belief, this wreaks havoc on our system, so that we are in this anxious, can lead to a state of anxiety or being anxious about certain things, or then we start to feel unconsciously, subconsciously, we tend to feel that we have betrayed ourselves, we have let ourselves down, our confidence, our trust and belief in ourselves continues to go down, and then we have this battle within wherein we want to do these things, we desire to do these things, but it's easier to facilitate being in alignment with the cycles, times, and seasons that would enable us to have an easier go at this resolution thing. And if we look at the months, we got September, October, November, December, 7, 8, and 9, if you know the prefixes of words. Sept, 7, Act is 8, Nov is 9, Dec is 10, which would align with the fact that December, Dec, would be the 10th month, which would be the beginning of winter. And if we were in alignment with that, we got the December, January, and February, with some tweaking, of course, because the actual dates are not in alignment either. But at least if we were in alignment with the months to a certain respect, we would not find it as challenging to continue on in the vein of sticking to our resolutions for the year. So with so winter would be starting in December on the what we know now is the 21st and 22nd, but which would probably be closer to what would be if we were in complete alignment, which would probably be the first of the month, or at least within the first week, depending on when the new moon for the month fell, which I believe it was on the 19th. So, the moons are in alignment. I'm still working on finding somebody to help me with these calculations to actually figure it out. I have some ideas, but some people need other validation for acceptance, so we'll still work on that. So again, when we're not in alignment, when we're making these resolutions and we're out of cycle with the times and seasons in which we're in, it makes it challenging and more difficult to be able to adhere to that, and it causes us to have a certain feeling inside, a feeling of the erosion of trust in self, and this decreases our confidence. And as it continues on, we keep making these resolutions, and resolutions don't come true because we're not in alignment with the actual time, and in the end it causes us to experience much anguish anxiety, guilt for not following through. So I'd like to suggest that we work on realigning ourselves with the cycles and seasons that we were given, things that are actual celestial truths, we shall say, and invite you to join us for an actual New Year's celebration, getting back in cycles. So spend this month working on our plans, reviewing what has passed this year, and coming up with our plan for the year in March, based on the things that we want to renew, things we want to create, things that we want to release, so that when the new year actually comes, we will be ready with our resolutions in hand, things we're going to release and let go, and do a little burning celebration of what we are getting rid of, and light a candle for the new which we want to bring in. We'll keep you posted on that. And let's see, what else? Yeah. So that's what we have for today. Just a little short message on that. Wanted to drop this before we go into this new year, so instead we can get prepared for the actual new year. And we will close this circle in the spiritual joint. May the echoes of this sacred fire linger within your soul. Carry the wisdom of the stars, the silent song of the moon, and the gentle whisper of ancient truths as your guiding light. You will step softly into your unfolding path, embracing the shadow and the light, knowing that every breath is a thread woven into the infinite tapestry of the Spirit. Until we meet again, beneath the cosmic sky, walk in wholeness, grace, and peace.